and welcome to another edition of Positively Paul. And you know what? It's because I'm not negatively Paul. It's just kind of a positive thing we do here on Sundays, and we come to you live on Sunday. Sunday's the best day actually for us to do this, and we come to you live at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. That's 3 o'clock Central, 2 o'clock Mountain, and 1 o'clock Pacific Time. And for all these of you who live in Hawaii, it's whatever time you come in from surfing and you decide, yeah, we want to do something different. So you can watch the show, and you can get to us by going to Ustream. That's our streaming service at ustream.tv/channel/positively-Paul. Now, I know that's a mouthful, so you can also search Positively Paul on the Ustream mobile app. Yeah, we got one of those. Actually, it's not our mobile app, it's somebody else's, but we borrow it. And if you have a Facebook account, and I don't know too many people that don't, you can reach us at www.facebook.com/PositivelyPaul. And if you choose to write to us, and we encourage you to do so with positive comments, you can do that by going to paulgregory@skywayshow.com. Now, I got to tell you, folks, this has been just an amazing week last week. This weather is unbelievable. It's like, where did it come from? Well, I think it came from all that cold Arctic blast that all of a sudden was here, and then it disappeared, and then it came back again, and before you know it, it is what it is. And now we have all these pleasant, incredible days and incredible temperatures and low humidity, which is actually, the humidity being down is kind of interesting, because I begin to wonder if this is really a kind of a going back to the way it was, 35, 40 years ago, when spring sort of felt like spring and summer sort of felt like summer. But now summer sort of feels like spring, and I think that this is a good thing. It's great. Everybody's comfortable. People are getting out. They're enjoying their summertime and getting together with the kids and getting together with relatives and enjoying all the holidays, i.e. Memorial Day and 4th of July. And I hope you guys all had a good 4th of July. I did. I got to watch the fireworks, but I got to watch them from the water, which was really, really cool. If you've never done that before, you got to try it. It's amazing. It's right now a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. It's in the 70s here. It's amazing. And I do this. This is the time that I do this. In Tokyo, it is 74 degrees. Light skies. In London, it is 68 degrees right now. And there is a 6-hour time difference, so it's nighttime there. In Miami, it's a warm 82 degrees. In New York, it's sunny and 78 degrees. In Chicago, it's 81. And that's good for Chicago because of slightly cloudy skies, and they like that. They like that right now. In Denver, it's 93 with almost clear skies. In Los Angeles, California, it's 75. And again, same thing, light clouds, and they're enjoying this kind of weather. And of course, if you live in Honolulu or Maui or Kauai, you just love it there. It's amazing. It's 79 degrees there. If you've never been to Hawaii, you gotta go. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. Now, I got to tell you, I did go to Hawaii one time. I don't know if I can ever afford to go back again, but such is the way. Hey, I want to say hello to the most amazing man in webcasting, my incredibly talented and wise engineer, Brent Wigan. Brent, welcome to the show as always, and thank you for everything you do to help keep the wheels turning. Can't talk today. And he does amazing things, and I can't do the show without him. So it is what it is. We want to thank all the families. We want to send our thoughts and prayers out to the families of the veterans that are serving overseas. They're there. They're there to do a job. They're there to help us in this country. They're there to help kind of curb some of the issues that go on over there. And we have to keep the veterans in mind. We have to keep the families in mind. And when you think you got it bad, when you think life is difficult, keep in mind that some of these veterans, many of these veterans, did not get to come home when the Afghanistan conflict came about and the end was nearing and all of that. So be happy about the fact and be grateful about the fact that your family probably has that opportunity to get together for dinner or go get together for the weekends or go to a movie or something like that. There are people that can't do that at this point in time. And I got to tell you, when you think you got it bad, I'm wondering if we can bring up our mascot. Is there a possibility we can bring up the mascot? Because I want to tell you about this before we go to the mascot. I want to tell you folks, here at Positively Paul, we believe in making your life a little easier because we're going to show you why life is good. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce to you the mascot for Positively Paul, Thelma and Louise. Now, when you think you got it bad in life, let me tell you something. Here are two lovely ladies, and they absolutely have a great time. They go everywhere together. They vacation together. They go to the movies together. They cross the street together. You don't have it bad. No, you really don't. Just think about it. These two ladies that you just saw on the screen, they're inseparable. No pun intended. So anyway, it is what it is. Life is good, and you have to keep that in mind. I want to kind of get into what's happening today, and it's a very different kind of program that we have. Many years ago, my wife and I lost a son, and it was a situation we were unprepared for. And I in later years realized that had this boy survived, he might have had a situation. He might have been stricken with an illness, or he might have been dealing with something in life that was very, very tough for him. And I know that without question, without hesitation, without reservation, we would have been motivated to visit probably one of the most amazing hospitals in this country, called St. Jude, Children's Research Hospital. They're located in Memphis, Tennessee, and it's not just about where they're located. It's about what they do. It's about how they bring people together. It's about how families come together as a result of something that is out of the family's control. And sometimes compassion is what's needed, and St. Jude supplies so much of this. One of the things I did this past week was to look at the word compassion, and I tried to sort of figure out how can I talk to you about it. So I came up with 5 quotes that I felt were really beneficial in this situation, and they sort of say it all to my way of thinking, not just about St. Jude, but about all of us in general. That the first quote says, "Our prime purpose in life is to help others. If you can't help them, at least don't hurt them." Now, it's sort of an interesting quote. It's a little different, but it really is true. Our prime purpose in this life is to help others. That's kind of a goal. It's like a mission of St. Jude, is to help these families. Number 2, everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. So be kind. And that applies to these kids. That applies to the parents of these kids. That applies to the siblings of these kids. And it's not just families that are at St. Jude now. It's potential problems that can arise. When you think that someone else has it better than you, think again. It may not be as rosy and cheery as you think. Number 3, love and compassion are necessities, not luxuries. Without them, humanity cannot survive. Or at least humanity is going to have a real difficult time surviving. Number 4, compassion and tolerance are not a sign of weakness, which some people seem to think are. They're not. They're a sign of strength, because compassion and tolerance really demonstrate, they show everybody how we feel. They show how we all kind of give when it's good to give. And for those who are receiving, it's like, wow, Somebody thought about us. It's amazing. And finally, compassion is a verb. It's about demonstrating it. So when you think about the whole process of, well, compassion, stop for a second. It really is an important part of life. It really can make a difference. The other word I wanted to kind of reflect on is the word of comfort. At St. Jude Children's Research, and it's an amazing hospital. At this hospital, comfort is a key word. Hope is a key word. To give hope or help in the time of uncertainty or worry is all kind of put together. It's a combination of elements. There are 4 of them. And I want to kind of put this all into perspective, because to me, comfort is like softness. It's like a blanket or a pillow. It's something that makes you feel comfortable. And for kids who are at St. Jude, that's critical. That's important. That can make them smile again when things aren't good. Warmth is like gentle sunlight after a rain shower. The rain comes and there's light shower, not torrential downpours, just light rain. And warmth is when the sun's breaking through. It's amazing. The characteristics of children are basically innocence. There's an innocence about children that when you see them playing, or when you hear them talk to mom and dad, or when you hear them talk to each other, there's an innocence with these kids. And innocence is like a teddy bear. Kids at St. Jude need these teddy bears. Kids are delicate to a great degree. Kids are sensitive. Kids are, the world is at their feet. But sometimes they just have a little difficulty trying to tell the world something hurts, or I need a hug, or just hold my hand. And finally, compassion is a hug. My script actually says like a hug, but compassion really is a hug. Compassion is not just for kids. Compassion is for all of us as adults. Compassion is what keeps us together, keeps us linked, keeps us in sync with each other when the times are tight or when the dollar's tight. And so we try to remember compassion, hope, warmth, comfort, innocence, all these things, all these words, all these feelings make a huge difference in the life of a child, and in particular, the life of a child at St. Jude Children's Research. To a child, illness is no joke and a reason to cry. It is the worry a child feels. They're alone. Sometimes things aren't right, and the child is trying to figure out how to say something, how to feel something, how to express themselves. And it's not easy. Mom and dad do all they can, and their efforts may not be enough. So comfort sort of takes over. Comfort gives that child a sense of security. Comfort is the security blanket. Comfort is a way that dries their tears. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, I want to introduce you to some really amazing people. And I think you'll find it very, very interesting. But before I go to this commercial break, I want to tell you, we run public service announcements for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, as you know. And now we have been given the gift of running some of the new PSAs. We hope you'll stay tuned and watch them, and we hope you'll stay tuned to this program because there's a whole lot more coming up, stuff that you're really going to enjoy. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey y'all, Cedric the Entertainer here with Niecy Nash, taking a break from shooting The Soul Man to introduce you to Patience.
Hi.
Patience is a patient at St. Jude Children's Research Hospital.
Families never receive a bill from St. Jude for anything because all a family should worry about is helping their child live.
St. Jude won't give up until they end childhood cancer, sickle cell, and other deadly diseases.
Because of you, there is St. Jude.
Learn more at stjude.org.
Every single one of his medical bills, everything is just all taken care of.
Saber que el tratamiento es completamente gratis nos quita una preocupación de encima.
At St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, families never receive a bill for treatment, travel, housing, or food, because the only thing a family should worry about is helping their child live.
Because of you.
Gracias a ti.
Because of you.
There is St. Jude.
And we're back. I want to once again let you know, as we do at this point in the show, how you can get to us. And we think that it's probably the best way to get to us, but there's always kinds of options. I am your host, Paul Gregory, for this program. The show is called Positively Paul because we are non-sports, non-religious, non-political, and all of that sort of falls into place. We like to stay away from sensationalized material. We like to stay away from the negative aspects of life because you can tune in C-SPAN or CNN or Fox News or whatever you want for all of that. So we choose to do something a little different around here. You can get to us by going to Ustream at ustream.tv/channel/positively-Paul. You can also search Positively Paul on the Ustream mobile app. And if you have a Facebook account, you can reach us by going to www.facebook.com/positivelypaul. And if you wish to email us, which we encourage you to do, and we hope that you will, you can reach us by going to paulgregory@skywayshow.com. We were chatting a little bit before the break on this whole process of comfort and what sort of gives the child, a feeling of security, so to speak. And I think that my guests today are really going to be able to sort of put things into perspective because they have the firsthand knowledge to really talk a little bit about this this wonderful place called St. Jude Children's Research. I want to first introduce Lauren Hanna. Lauren, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
You're very, very welcome. And I want to ask you real quick, what do the letters ALSAC stand for? Because I know it's ALSAC, St. Jude Children's Research, in this particular region of the U.S.
ALSAC is the fundraising arm for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, and the acronym stands for American Lebanese Syrian Associated Charities, and our founder, Danny Thomas, was Lebanese and Syrian descent. So he established ALSAC 5 years before the hospital. So he raised money.
Wow.
He was very financially savvy as well as smart. And if the hospital closed today, we could still stay open for 5 years.
See, that to me, that's amazing. It's planning ahead, and planning ahead is, it's so critical in everything we do, but in particular for the sake of the kids, it's like a lifeline. It's like an insurance policy, so to speak, and it's a way to kind of look ahead and say, okay, here's what we have to deal with. My other guests today, ladies and gentlemen, are a couple who we're very, very fortunate to have a really, really wonderful little girl named Ryan. And her parents are Dory and Jeff Christian. Dory and Jeff, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I was reading your story, Jeff, and I should preface this, folks. Jeff is an NHL hockey player. He was, and now retired. Am I correct?
Right. Retired.
Okay, retired. And I find that when I read your story, I was sort of riveted as to all of the things that you and Dory went through. You had this little girl, lovely little girl, and life is good, and she's having everything's good so far, and then things start to change a little bit, and she's having a little frustration with things. As I read the story about how you both dealt with this situation as it developed with Ryan, I was really, really moved. And some parents, they're just at odds with what to do, and you guys seem to just sort of grab the bull by the horns, and you followed what life taught you. How would you describe the relationship between, at the time that Ryan's, sort of detected something was wrong, and your approach to how to deal with that?
Well, Ryan was having some minor issues as far as, headaches and things like that. And on February 4th, the school called Dory and said, Ryan's got another bad headache. And Dory went over and picked her up from school, brought her home, and she was playing in her room. Dory called me. I was actually at the rink at practice and said, I said, okay, we're going to take her to the eye doctor. Something's wrong. She shouldn't be having headaches. And then Dory found her unresponsive after she had a massive seizure in her room. And that's kind of how we get started. Rushed her to the hospital in Kansas City, where we were living at the time, by ambulance. And it took them, 10 days to find the tumor, and basically said, we never say it's 100%, but this is 100% cancer, and it might be too late already. And that's the surgeon walked up to me and said it just like that. We had no idea. No one had ever even mentioned cancer or that this was life-threatening or, we had no idea. So, just Ryan's cancer was so rare, so extremely rare, that the hospital in Kansas City really wasn't equipped to deal with it, as they hadn't seen many cases. So we started calling around to friends actually who had cancer, not pediatric cancer, but other cancers. And one of my good friends in the Cleveland area said, you have to go to St. Jude. And I said, well, what is St. Jude? I don't even know. And we started doing the research, and we said to our doctors, we have to go to St. Jude. And we were just so fortunate that, we were able to go. They accepted us, and we really think every day, we're thankful for every day that we went to St. Jude, and we feel that it was because of St. Jude that Ryan, we lost her after a 3-year fight, but we feel that it was because of St. Jude that we had all that time with her.
Dory, when you think about the camaraderie, and I use that term very specifically, of the doctors and the nurses and the staff at St. Jude, what really sort of caused you to say, boy, I'm really glad we did this?
Well, we were in Kansas City at the hospital for several weeks before we were transferred to St. Jude, and then they sent us in an ambulance down there, 9-hour ride, Ryan and I. And when we got there, it was just the weirdest thing. You came in and you immediately felt safe. You felt like, okay, I can exhale, and I feel like they have this under control. And, our doctor immediately met us. Our nurse was in immediately. It was like one of the favorite nurses that did origami for the children. And he'd leave little gifts on the bedside and everything. And, Child Life, which is the sort of like, I guess it would be the psychology department for the children there. And our social worker, and everybody worked together all to welcome us, to make us feel comfortable. And I feel like we always felt that everybody was fighting together and trying to win and trying to beat the cancer that Ryan had.
That's what it sounds like. It sounds like, and I have not visited the hospital yet. I hope to do it this year. It sounds like people there it's not the same environment. It's not the same philosophy. Not to take away from other children's hospitals, because across this nation, there are some amazing institutions for children's health and for children's illnesses and cancers and other diseases, and they do an amazing job. At the same time, however, St. Jude sets itself apart in a variety of ways. And I've seen the picture of the front of the hospital outside the entrance. And it's amazing. It's like driving up to a resort, for Pete's sake. It's absolutely amazing. So when I read the story about how you and Jeff got into this and the back and the forth during Ryan's the 3 years that she's dealt with this, I thought, boy, that just took so much stamina to get through it and to really hold yourselves together, because some people would have a difficult time with that.
I feel like everybody asks that, how do you do it? How do you do it? I feel like you do it because you can, and I feel like every parent really does have it in them to do exactly what we did. And you don't know what you can handle until you're faced with it. And then,
well, I had a guy tell me, he said, if my child was ever diagnosed, I'd jump off a bridge. And I said, no, you wouldn't. You would stand there and you would fight with them. You
That's
would
right.
do everything you could. You'll find it within yourself. Now, having said that, Paul, I mean, Dory and I and Ryan, we'll take on the world by ourselves, right? Nobody needs to help us. We'll stand on our own 2 feet. That's how we were raised. Then you get cancer. And it's like, we made a decision as a family to let everybody help us who wanted to help us in a positive way. And it's an ego thing. Like, you've got to say thank you. And we appreciate it. And it's hard to do that, but you welcome them in. And I'll tell you what, Paul, we had so much support. And I'm not just talking about St. Jude, but I'm talking about like just people, friends and family, and just amazing things. We could go on for hours about the things that we see. But you talk about the staff at St. Jude specifically, you really feel that not only are they cheering for you, but they're your friends. Like we're friends with the social workers and the doctors and the nurses, and it's like, we're proud to have them as friends. But we really felt like they were cheering for us to win.
I I was reading in a book that Lauren gave me when we first met, and Lauren came to the studio to for us to talk about this show. And a booklet she gave me had, excuse me, some of the kids identifying the letters of the alphabet, and I thought it was absolutely amazing. So I wanted to come up with Positively Paul's version of that same approach. Well, so in our case, S is for the steadfastness of the staff, because the staff is just amazing. They're all together. They're all thinking on the same lines. T is for the time spent on fundraising. And Lauren, would I be out of place there? I think they probably spend more time on fundraising than any organization of its type.
I don't know. We do spend a lot of
They
time
do spend a
fundraising,
significant amount.
but it's patient families like the Christians. I've known them for a couple of years, and our staff are friends with them. I remember Jennifer Pointer in our event patient liaison department calling me, was like, you have to be good to them. We love them. And we've grown to love them. You talked about compassion. I have nothing but compassion for this family. They had a tragic event happen in their life, and they get it. They understand what life's all about, and they're positive, and they're sharing Ryan's story with everyone and creating awareness, so no other family has to go through what they went through. And they help raise money for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. They're great people, and they're very beloved by our fundraising staff.
That's amazing. J is for just because they care. U is for upholding the mission of St. Jude. D is for the devotion of the nurses. And E is for the extraordinary skills of the doctors. I have read and heard more and more wonderful things about this hospital, and that's one of the reasons I want to visit it. We're going to take a break here shortly and we'll be away for 2 minutes. So we hope you'll stay with us, and we got lots more coming up, and we'll be right back.
In a moment, cancer changed our lives forever.
We were told nothing could be done. to enjoy these final moments together.
But in that moment, when all seemed lost,
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital gave us hope.
Because at this moment, St. Jude Children's Research Hospital is saving lives with pioneering research and care. We're changing the way the world treats childhood cancer by sharing our discoveries with doctors and scientists everywhere.
And we'll never have to pay St. Jude for anything, ever.
At this moment, she wants to be in her own bed.
I want to be back at school with my friends.
I want to be outside playing.
Please take a moment and join St. Jude in finding cures and saving children. Visit stjude.org.
And we're back. I want to acknowledge the folks at St. Jude Children's Research Hospital in Memphis, Tennessee, for not only all the wonderful things they do, but for the positive feeling that they give the kids. For some of these kids are not going to go home. Some of these kids they're aware, they're alert, and yet they continue to, every single day, try to smile and try to be happy. And they make friends with the doctors and the nurses. And ladies and gentlemen, if you have never had a reason to understand St. Jude, I highly recommend you get online, Google St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. It's an amazing organization. It really truly is. If you know someone whose child is having some difficulty, or you know parents who are needing of some assistance, it's difficult for parents to talk about it, but it's just such an amazing place. And I think of all the hospitals in the world, or of all the countries in the world, we have here in the United States doctors and nurses and professionals who do everything they can to make sure that children are happy and comfortable and doing well. My guests today are Lauren Hanna from ALSEC St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, and Dory and Jeff Christian. And I want to thank everybody again for being on the show and for all the time and all the input that you've given us about your experience at St. Jude. I think of so many times I've thought about what it might have been like had my son Brian survived but had gotten a childhood cancer or leukemia or something that we would have had no control over. In many cases, in all cases, when the parents lose control, there's nothing you can do but go to the professionals. Lauren, I discovered, I looked at this sheet that you had left with me when we last spoke, and there were 4 points on this sheet called Quick Facts about St. Jude Children's Research Hospital that I thought were sort of interesting, and I wanted to kind of touch on these 4. The first one is that St. Jude Children's Research Hospital opened in 1962. But you say that Danny Thomas, and we were discussing this before we went on air, that Danny Thomas really was ahead of the game before that time. What was he doing? What was his approach?
He believed that no child should die in the dawn of life, and he built St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, and it's a unique place. It's centrally located in Memphis, Tennessee, and it treats patients from all over the United States, all over the world, and free. Nobody ever receives a bill. And they do take insurance, but they never max out your insurance. Prior to working at St. Jude, I didn't even know it was possible to max out insurance, but it definitely is. And it's just this unique place, and it has a bench-to-bedside model where in the hospital at the K Cafe, it's the cafeteria at the hospital, and it makes it unique because patients, researchers, doctors, nurses, fundraisers all share the same cafeteria, and we all share the same mission. And that's what Danny Thomas believed, that No child should die in the
No,
dark
I
life.
got pizza over here. Come on. I remember when I was growing up, I used to watch the Danny Thomas Show. And when you're young and you're watching TV in those days, you're not thinking about what else is wonderful is this man doing. When I first learned about St. Jude, I thought, wow, this is, you can't lose with a hospital like this because they absorb the costs. They absorb the frustrations that parents deal with and have to go through when their child is stricken with an illness like this. Families never receive a bill from St. Jude. Think about that, ladies and gentlemen. Families never receive a bill. And yet your child gets to receive all this care from all these wonderful people. And your child gets to hopefully try to live and breathe and smile and laugh a little bit again during what is a very difficult time for them. You don't get a bill. Keep that in mind when you're thinking about who you're going to contribute to. Think about when you're looking after tax time or sometime during the year and you got a little extra spending money. Yeah, you could go on vacation. Yeah, you could go to that extra movie. Yeah, you could go out for pizza. But you know what? I'll bet you'd get a whole lot more satisfaction by making a contribution to St. Jude Children's Research. And at Positively Paul, we encourage you to do that. Treatments, and this always happens. Sometimes I forget my glasses. So forgive me if I bring this up a little bit closer. But as it says, treatments invented at St. Jude have helped push the overall childhood cancer survival rate from 20% when the hospital opened in 1962 to 80%. Lauren, 20 to 80%.
We treat very rare catastrophic diseases and childhood cancers at St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, but we also treat the most common form of childhood cancers as well, like leukemia, ALL. And when the hospital first opened in 1962, the survival rate was only 4%. And now, thanks to contributions that you had mentioned, our survival rate for ALL is now 94%. And most of the survival rates have increased. But unfortunately, there are still patients who do lose their battle, and that's why we ask people to donate to such a wonderful cause so we don't lose any more patient families. And I know I had talked about ALL being the most common form of childhood cancer. The average cost for ALL is over $500,000, and most people wouldn't be able to pay for that. And so that's why St. Jude set aside, it's unique because you don't receive a bill, and you don't receive a bill for transportation to the hospital, for phone calls home, laundry, for lodging, meals, and your treatment and prescriptions. So you can just focus on your family and your child, which is most important at that time.
The final point I wanted to bring up is it says St. Jude has treated children from all 50 states and around the world. That means that their campus, if I can use that term appropriately, has to house a lot of kids. I mean, they're opening up their doors to the world, not just the United States. I find that amazing. I find that eye-opening, jaw-dropping. They're saying to everybody, bring your kids here. What? And this is sort of the twist here in the conversation. What drew you to St. Jude's to come to work for them?
Me? Well, I actually am a Tri Delta alumni in our sorority. The philanthropies, national philanthropy is St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. I also did a collegiate program called Up Till Dawn. So I was just sold, and I was one of those people that was like, this is a great cause, I'm going to support it for the rest of my life. And my St. Jude rep was like, if you ever need a job, look me up after college. I was like, yeah, I got a job. And then a year later, I was like, my job didn't make me feel like I was doing what I was meant to do. St. Jude feels like it gives me a purpose. This is what I was meant to do in life, and I love it. And I get to work with patient families such as, Dory and
Isn't
Jeff.
that something?
Yeah.
It's fulfilling. It's not a job. This is the point at where you stopped working for a living. Think about that. This is the point in time where you realize you can help people. This is the point in time in your life where you made a life-changing decision. And it not only benefited you, it benefits people like Dory and Jeff. And those are the kinds of things I want my audience to think about. I want my audience to think about the fact that when you make a contribution to St. Jude, you're helping the cause. You're helping the cause, you're helping the kids, you're helping the staff, you're helping the nurses, the doctors, you're helping the maintenance staff, you're helping the people that drive the ambulance, you're helping the people that are involved in one way or another at St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. I want to turn the tables just a little bit, and I want to ask Dory and Jeff some questions because I think this is really the appropriate point in the show to do this, and we may not get through all the questions, but I want to kind of send some of these things out your way. Jeff, when I read your story, and I should tell my audience that you were at one point, you're now retired, and I think I mentioned this, you were involved in a very physical sport of hockey. Like a lot of sports, it's very demanding on your time. And there's so much that people want to be able to do. Husbands and wives, parents want to be with their children. But that was difficult for you. And I have to believe that Dory had a whole lot of stuff going through your head. Oh, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. And it wasn't, I got to do it. It was, I got to make sure this is right. I got to do this because Jeff's not here. Well, I know it had to be difficult to go through this experience with Ryan. What can you tell us about Ryan and her feelings about the nurses and the doctors at St. Jude as she sort of came into the picture?
Well, Ryan, she loved going to St. Jude. It's normally you think children would be really kind of sad to go to the hospital, and there were days where she had her days like any kid would, but they really made it a fun place there. Halloween, for example, each different clinic becomes its own little sort of miniature house where you can go in and trick or treat, and the kids would take these huge hospital pillowcases, and by the end they'd be full, overflowing, and there were different themes each year for Halloween, and the same thing at Christmas time, and they made it so much fun for the kids that even though they were going through such a hard time, I mean, if you walked into the doors, everybody keeps saying, "Oh, I could never go there. It would be so sad." And it's not. It's like one of the happiest places you could ever visit. I mean, kids are smiling, people are laughing. Of course, everyone's very sick. The children are sick, but it is a happy place. And so I feel like the doctors and nurses, Child Life, everybody is so positive, and I think that really makes a difference. It makes you willing to fight.
Jeff, you were on the road traveling. And as I read in your story, I understand your professional hockey career really requires all this time. You can't sort of just duck out. Well, I can't. I got to miss that game. You have to be there. You're on either a contractual agreement or a verbal agreement. You're something with regards to your career. Can you explain for my audience about your thoughts when you learned how Dory was dealing with learning and meeting all the new nurses and the staff and having to deal with Ryan? And what was your response? I mean, you'd get on the phone or however you would contact her.
So we spent almost 2 weeks in the hospital in Kansas City before we went to St. Jude, and it was at that time that it was the most difficult for me because we didn't know, Ryan hadn't had her tumor even removed yet at that time, and we didn't know really what we were doing or what the protocol was going to be. But I feel like once we got to St. Jude, Dory and Ryan went to St. Jude, and I kind of stayed behind and finished the season, traveled from Memphis back and forth. It was a lot better, actually, wasn't it? It was just like, okay, we feel like we're in the right spot. We feel like we've got a plan. We feel like we need to be where we need to be. And yeah, I mean, there were some games where I would have the trainer on the bench have my cell phone just in case there was any kind of call at all. I would, between every period of every game, there's 3 periods, so after the first period, after the second period, I'd be on the phone with Dory or texting. And, like I said, it was when we got to St. Jude and the tumor had been removed and it was like, this is your protocol. We just felt like, okay, there's a plan. And that's when we kind of were like, okay, our motto, we adopted a motto that we made up called Strong, Healthy, and Loved. And that was our thing for Rye every day. We're strong, healthy, and loved. And we would repeat that over and over and over. And so, we just kind of took it day by day. And it was like, hey, today's a good day. She's still here. We've got her. We're going to make the most of it. We used to say, we had a good day yesterday. We're going to have another good one tomorrow.
Excellent. Excellent. Folks, we're going to take a short break and we will be right back. Stay tuned.
They just told us right away that we're going to house you, we're going to feed you, and every single one of his medical bills is just all taken care of.
Saber que el tratamiento es completamente gratis nos quita una preocupación de encima.
We have phenomenal research, outstanding clinical care, and the generosity of public, which allow us to treat patients regardless of what it takes. And that's what makes St. Jude so magical.
At St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, families never receive a bill for treatment, travel, housing, or food, because the only thing a family should worry about is helping their child live.
Doctors send us the toughest cases to be treated at St. Jude, and our patients come from all over the world.
When we come here, they told me, don't worry, everything's being taken care of.
We could never repay St. Jude for what they've given us.
Because of you.
Gracias a ti.
Because of you.
There is St. Jude.
And we're back. I want to remind everybody we are Positively Paul. Actually, I am Positively Paul because I'm not a negatively kind of guy, right? Right. You can watch this show at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 3 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Mountain, and 1 p.m. Pacific Time. And you can do that by going to Ustream at ustream.tv/channel/positively-Paul. Or you can search Positively Paul on the Ustream mobile app. If you have a Facebook account, you can reach us by going to www.facebook.com/positivelypaul. And we encourage you to write in with your comments, hopefully positive. And you can do that by going to paulgregory@skywayshow.com. My guests today have been Lauren Hanna of Alsek St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, and Lauren, I just tell you, I can't thank you enough for being on the show. This is you brought information, you brought commentary, you brought thoughts, you bring your heart, you bring everything with you, and it means a lot to me hosting a show like this because I'm moved by our guest. Dory and Jeff Christian and their story about their daughter Ryan. Thank you very, very much. I want to ask Dory and Jeff just a couple other items here on my script. I know that hospitals can be a bit scary for children, and I think that pretty much that's a normal response by kids. Did either one of you immediately see something that helped Ryan to sort of feel a little bit more at ease? Was there something that she noticed on the walls or somebody that reached out to her? What sort of sparked her curiosity?
Well, I would say the entire environment there is, as we've discussed already, a pretty positive place. And I feel like, seeing other children go through the exact same thing as she was going through, or very similar things, was very helpful. Trying to keep life as normal as it was for her was very helpful. We were lucky enough to be housed at the Target House, which is a St. Jude provided housing, 2-bedroom apartment, and then there were shuttles provided back and forth to the hospital. And so she got to hang out literally 24 hours a day with children who were very much like her.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't make her feel so different from everyone else, which, you know, she had a pretty strong personality. I'm not sure it would have bothered her much anyway, but, you know, I think that was helpful.
And all the walls at St. Jude are all painted with different scenes and animals and, you know, you name it. It's all, it's not just your typical hospital. It is really an upbeat place. There's Miss Penny makes the announcements there. It's like attention, boys and girls, and it's like, hey, today we're going to have a special guest read, you know, to all the kids, or this is going on, or that's going on. There's always something going on.
Yeah.
The cafeteria is a centralized place where everybody eats together. The kids, the doctors, the nurses, everybody.
See,
so it's a big, happy family environment.
To me, that's amazing. When you can, you know, in a lot of hospitals, the patients can't eat with the nurses or the doctors,
Right.
and you may want to strike up a conversation, you know. John Smith over there, or maybe, you know, just old and crotchety, and he wants someone to play cards with him. He wants to challenge the doctor to a game of poker. Well, you know, it's a little different with kids, because the kids just want someone to come and play with them. And I just think it's amazing. I want to go down and see this hospital, and I'm going to go down and see this hospital. Finally, I want to ask you, both of you, to speak just briefly here, because we don't have a lot of time left in the show, but tell me a little bit about Ryan when she sort of knew that this was, and I don't want to sadden everybody, but I want to look at it from another perspective. Was there a time in Ryan's her experience there when she sort of knew how you guys were doing? Did she feel what you guys were sort of worried about?
I don't know. You know, they say that the kids will protect their parents, and maybe she did that for us. You know, we talked a lot about, you know, different subjects, life and death, and you know, what happens and all that. But we really didn't dwell on that at all. We just were like, this is what we've got to do today. I mean, Paul, the list of medicine that she had to do, I mean, at the times of the days, there's a schedule, like, you got to do it. So that was kind of like, our focus was like, okay, this is coming up in an hour, and that's the next, like, there wasn't a lot of time to sit around and really worry about, you know, what was coming down the road.
We just always tried the next available thing. I mean, it was, okay, this didn't work, let's try something else. Okay, there's a trial we can get in, we can do this, we'll try that. And, you know, and it was very defeating when we learned, you know, nothing was working.
We honestly believed in our hearts that Ryan was going to be a miracle, which is what it would have been. We believed that we were going to beat it, and so did she. And that's what, like Dory said, when we found out in Kansas City, we had moved back there so she could be with her friends and go to school, and it was a great experience. You know, they said, not only, you know, is this not working, but we don't know how much time we've got left. We actually had got 2 more months after that with her. And, you know, we got through Thanksgiving, we got through Christmas, we got through her birthday, which was January 7th, and then it was a pretty rapid decline from there. And we lost her on January 24th. But, yeah, you know, she was just always, Ryan never wasted 1 minute of her life. She was either coloring, playing with the friends, having a sleepover, playing with her cats, watching a movie. I mean, and that's an inspiration to us, because, like, if you find yourself sitting around, hey, I'm bored, I'm depressed, you know, I think of Ryan, I'm like, she'd just get up and do something. You know, anything. She was just going 100%, and she made the most out of every minute of her life, and it really was inspirational. So we didn't really sit around and worry too much about, you know, what was coming. We just kind of lived each day. We made the most out of each day.
That's good. That's amazing. Yeah. Lauren, I want to kind of move things in your direction, and I want to ask you about. I was just looking at the sheet on the 5-year cancer survival rates. I'm encouraged by what I see, and I'm encouraged by the fact that St. Jude just continues to push this research in amazing directions. They're relentless, and they constantly are looking for the answers. As I've watched the PSAs in the past, you see the everybody's working together. They're all looking. They're seeking out the answers, and some of these these survival rates are just phenomenal. I mean, truly phenomenal. And I unfortunately I can't pronounce a lot of these names, but wow, it's like, I think that if more research was done in so many different directions, and it's there's just, I guess there's so much to talk about. There's so much to say.
And 81 cents of every dollar raised goes straight to the operating costs and helping cure childhood cancer, so we can have more of these survival rates. And like earlier you had said, our overall survival rates back in 1962 when the hospital first opened were only 20%, and now it's over 80% as a whole. So
see, and
we'd love it to be 100%.
Yeah, I know you would. I know that. I'm humbled. I think that's the best word I can use, by all of this that takes place at St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. I'm just baffled why more people can't just stop for 5 minutes and make a contribution. It's $1, $5, $10, something. Make a contribution. It cannot hurt. It only helps. And I'll keep harping on you folks out there. I will keep pushing you to make a donation, make a contribution. I don't care what it is. I don't care if your child wants to know why, there's so much money in the piggy bank and why am I saving? Well, maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe that son or daughter of yours actually wants to make a contribution. But you can make it. There's no excuse. There's no reason not to. There is no reason, period, not to make a contribution to St. Jude. I don't want anyone's children to have to go there, but if you are unfortunately in a situation and your child is stricken with an illness, St. Jude is an amazing place. They have amazing staff. They have amazing doctors. They have amazing nurses. They have an amazing building. They have a tremendous campus. And honestly, you gotta check it out. I want to thank my guests. First of all, thank you very much, Jeff and Dory, for coming on the show and talking with us about your experience with St. Jude. And I know that Ryan is in an amazing place. In fact, she and my son may be talking. They may be friends. You never know. At any rate, it's. I love you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Lauren, what can I say? You come to the show. You came in advance. You really helped me out with this, and my heart is just kind of sinking right now because of what St. Jude does for all these kids. I thank you for everything that you've given to St. Jude, and on behalf of Positively Paul, we thank you very, very much for spending the time with us this afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, it's getting on in that time of the show, and I have to tell you, you cannot give a second thought to the process of making a contribution. When you do, you're helping people, you're helping children, you're helping parents, you're helping families, and somebody out there may be helping you, may be helping your child should something tragic like that happen. So please, please, please give the St. Jude Children's Research. I want to thank you very, very much for staying with us, and I'm always reminded of what it's like when somebody is just kind of having to deal with things, and in life you never know. You never know. You can't always be negative. You got to remain positive. Try to look at life as the best you can, and keep in mind as you go about your week, stay safe. If you drink, don't drive. If you drive, don't drink. If you're on the lawnmower, remember, stay away from the dog, because the dog's just going to bark at you. Have a great week, and if you think something unique to write about, we'd love to hear from you. If you have great comments, please write us. You can reach us here on Sundays at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Mountain, and 1 p.m. Pacific Time. You can do that by going to Ustream at ustream.tv/channel/positively-Paul. If you have a Facebook account, you can reach us by going to www.facebook.com/positivelypaul. And you can reach us by email by going to paulgregory@skywayshow.com. I hope you have a great week, and we'll see you next week. Be safe. Bye-bye. Positively Paul is a production of Skyway Webcasting.